So welcome to a very special 10-minute takeaway from the NJC. I'm Tom Stenson, Audit Trainer and Head of Training for the NJC. Today I'm joined by John Sheridan, who is Driver Training Policy Advisor for the DVSA. And today's topic is going to be driver professionalism. And so our 10 minutes starts now. For you then, John, why is the professionalism for us as ADI so important?
Well, firstly, a big thank you for the opportunity and a big thank you to everybody watching and listening. Just to give you a little bit of a flavour as to why I wanted to speak specifically about professionalism. In October of last year, all DVSA driving test warrant card holders were seconded back to L tests in an attempt to address the considerable backlog that I'm sure you're all aware of. And it's a position that DVSA definitely don't want to be in, whereby we're not providing the customer service and care that we would like to be able to do. So we went back to doing L tests. And I had the privilege of going to Lichfield Driving Test Centre to conduct L tests. It was like a trip down memory lane for me after 38 years of being a driving examiner. Having been on the ADI side or connected to the ADI side for probably the bulk of that period of time, I was quite surprised and disappointed, you could say, in a way, to witness some of the practices that I encountered whilst conducting L tests. And a couple of those points are really to just articulate the importance of being professional and the importance of making a very good first impression, because you don't get a second opportunity to make a good first impression. So the first thing that surprised me was that despite me being me, welcoming and encouraging the ADI to accompany the driving test, I would get pupils saying to me things like, "My instructor told me to tell you he doesn't want to come," which I thought, really? It's a shame, because when we talk about CPD, DVSA are actually offering and providing ADIs with free CPD opportunities, but they're not taking that opportunity and accompanying the test. So obviously I would then have a little word with the ADI after the test, out of earshot of the pupil, and try and educate them to the benefits of accompanying the test. The second point that I really want to get across, if I may please, is the importance of having your ADI badge or PDI badge on display. Be proud of it, because it confirms in the first instance that you're legit and that you're legal. It gives the examiner the opportunity to record your PRN number on the DES app, the iPad that we use for conducting the tests, which enables us to provide accurate statistical data on your performance, which again helps with your development. And interestingly, whether you know this or not, we have a test information program, which is a piece of software whereby we can prioritize who we call for a standards check. Now, if your ADI badge is not on display, we wouldn't have any data on your performance. No. So that raises a question. It also raises suspicion. So we would be more likely to call you for a standards check. Now, what I will say, or go on to say, is please don't ever worry if your badge is displayed and you have a fail, because there is a fail and there is a fail. Now, you can have a pupil who can make just a lapse. They can have a lapse of concentration, and as a consequence make one silly mistake and end up with one serious fault fail. That in itself doesn't mean to say that the ADI has done anything wrong or the ADI is in need of development. However, conversely, you might, or you would not want a pupil whereby the examiner's continually taking action, potentially might even terminate the test in the interest of public safety, because that would suggest that pupil should not have been presented for test in the first instance, because they obviously just weren't ready, Tom.
Yeah.
And it's important that we ensure that any pupil attending for test is fully prepared for two reasons. One, firstly, and most importantly, is the road safety aspect.
Yeah.
And secondly, the point that I mentioned before, we've got so many people waiting, genuinely prepared and ready for tests, who we can't provide tests for because they've been prevented from doing so by people who are not fully prepared. So that would be my plea to each and every one of you. Take pride in what you do, display your ADI badge, and please, please, please think of your car and the cleanliness of your car, because it's your business card.
Yeah.
If you have a pupil who comes along for a driving lesson and they say, well, Tom's a really nice guy, but you wouldn't want to be sitting in his car because it's terrible. Clean the inside of your car, make sure your windows are clean, make sure it's a professional appearance when presented for a driving test. So they were some of the key points that I picked up on whilst testing at Lichfield, and it was fantastic to meet so many old professional faces, which I did do. One or two did make me feel old as well, but that aside, it was wonderful, and continue to encourage pupils to take as much professional instruction as you possibly can, because I know each and every one of you that are watching this video teaches somebody to drive as opposed to passing a test.
Yeah.
And that is also important, Tom, because it doesn't stop when you pass the driving test. Think about Pass Plus, think about the post-test driver development, think about the benefits of all that is fuel-efficient driving.
Yeah.
If you can equip a newly qualified driver with the skills and the knowledge and understanding to drive in a fuel-efficient way, not only does it contribute positively to the environment, but it saves a few quid for them too on wear and tear, on fuel costs and such like. But a big thank you for listening. I hope that does help you. I'm sure it will. Bearing in mind that when you do get called for a standards check, you will be presented with some statistical data on performance. You will also get the opportunity to have an engagement call with the ADI examiner to help you better understand that statistical data. So don't be reluctant to prepare. Write a few key questions down for the examiner and get them contributing to your continued professional development. And I wish you all the very best on that.
I think that's a really good point that you bring up there as well, because it's all to do with that professionalism.
Yeah.
The instructor has got that opportunity to sort of alleviate some of that stress and find out what's going to happen on the day.
Yeah.
They get to talk through with you guys about, what does my statistics mean? What does this mean for me? Are there patterns here that I should be specifically looking at?
Yeah.
What I tend to do with a lot of trainees, I'd say to them that even though you guys are collecting this data, I get them to collect it themselves as well. So they know every time when a pupil's got a test, and whatever driver faults they've got, are there patterns they're looking for? Because this is the feedback that I think they need to be looking at to try and help them improve. If we know last year that observations at junctions was still one of the common fails for tests, in 2023 it was also one of the most common reasons for accidents as well. So there's obviously a link there.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to what you're saying sort of about not teaching for test and teaching for road safety. And I think for us as instructors and trainers, it's really important that we try and get this across as much as possible.
That was so well said, Tom. I couldn't have chosen better words myself. It's about ownership, taking ownership of your own standards, and back to being professional. You've got to be aware if there are any patterns or traits developing, and your pupils' feedback from driving tests. And that's why, please, very early on, suggest that you will accompany the test. But at the very least, always listen to the debrief.
Yeah.
And it's a collaboration, isn't it? And let's work together to try and improve. But yes, the number one reason for failure is still observations at junctions, as is the number one failure on a standards check, which is not adjusting the lesson
Yeah.
to suit the needs of the pupil. So yeah, we need to be working to try and change all of that in a positive way.
And I think it links up as well to trainers. I mean, as much as possible, I always try and sit in on part 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
And if I can't, I'm always there on the phone to listen, because that's a good opportunity for me to have a conversation with the examiner and, you know, ask any questions. And every ADI examiner I've spoken to has always said, Tom, any questions? Do you want to go through anything? For me, that's great. But it's that feedback. But also for trainees to turn up with that training log, because I think for me that is such a professional thing to turn up to give to the ADI examiner and say, look, I'm taking this seriously. This is all the training that I've done. These are the additional hours that I've done. I know it doesn't make an impact on the outcome, but it's that professionalism to sort of turn up and go, come on, look what I'm doing.
And on exactly the same subject, you know, a professional record of achievements. So you're talking about your training, that's fantastic. Training's one thing, but the actual CPD, I mean, like the event we're at today, the ADINJC event in Stone in Staffordshire, you know, I attended it, I listened to various presentations. What did I learn? What will I take away? How will I use it to make me a better driving instructor? Document all of that, and when you attend for your standards check, again, you can present that to the examiner, and that evidences again that you're taking ownership of the quality, and that's exactly what it should be about. But above all else, you've got to enjoy it too, you know. And
one of the important things.
Yeah, you've got to smile. I mean, I meet so many passionate, approved driving instructors, and that's why I'm prepared to come out on a Sunday.
Yeah.
That's why I love these sort of events.
And we appreciate you being here as well. So
it's been my privilege and pleasure.
That's our 10 minutes over. So, John, can I say thank you very much for joining us today?
You're very, very welcome, and stay safe out there.